Hello, Texans, and welcome to Cooler Talk. Marc, Vandermeer, and John Harris, and I'm significantly taller than you. Wait, you have the seat in low mode.
It's in my mode.
We're on semi-television here. You can't be in low mode. You got to get all right. Because how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
All right,
You're taller than me.
I'm 6'2".
You used to try and post me up playing basketball.
Yeah, I can't post you up. You're an animal on the basketball court. No way. I'm not dealing with that. No way. Anyway, get your questions in for your Houston Texans 2020 as we're going to the Combine a week from Monday, so we always look forward to that. And I know you really do. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll be set up in approximately the same space near the bench press area.
It's always good to have sort of a frame of reference. When my first Combine was 2015, and we were outside the West Club at Lucas Oil. Mm-hmm. And it was about 9 of us. There wasn't that many tables set up.
Oh, no.
I remember it was the Bills, the Steelers, the Bears and Eagles were there.
Yep.
There weren't too many more after that. Maybe the Vikings. Not even the Colts. The Colts weren't even there.
No, we were one of the first ones.
Now we go back. They moved us to the convention center, and nearly every team is there.
It's a big, huge radio road. Not quite Super Bowl status. Oh, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yes.
Take care of your Valentine. And boy, the kids in school, like my little guy, we had to have all these Valentines for him. He's handing out little football cards as Valentines. Nice. It's just one of those things.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's the right thing. You've taught him well. Is he now? Here's what he needs to do.
Has
he been giving out the Deshaun Watson to his favorite Valentine?
I don't know. No, it doesn't work. They're not encouraging
giving
romance. It's more like
giving a Tom Brady to the kid that he doesn't like
the
most?
Yeah, yes. Maybe. Okay, JJ on Facebook, are we looking for any new running backs? Well, maybe, because you don't know what's going to happen with some of the guys we currently have.
Yeah.
And by some of the guys, I mean Carlos Hyde, right?
Yeah, Carlos Hyde is the big one, just as far as what they're going to do contractually. And here's the Carlos Hyde, in some sense, is – I know a lot of people Bill Barnwell wrote an article about the Texans making a play for Melvin Gordon. And, look, I love Melvin Gordon. I've been a big fan of Melvin Gordon for a long time. Played at the University of Wisconsin. My dad used to talk about Melvin Gordon. He'd be great for the Texans. But you're not going to pay 5 years, $50 million for a running back. It's ridiculous.
Big money.
No, you're not going to do that. In some sense, Carlos Hyde is kind of the poster child in some sense for why you don't do that, because Carlos was in Kansas City, wasn't really getting any time. It didn't look like he was going to get anywhere. Martinez Rankin was not going to make the roster, and the Texans and Chiefs just went, you want to make a deal?
Yeah.
And Carlos Hyde comes here and is a 1,000-yard rusher.
And Rankin played for them.
And he did. He started for a few games before he ended up hurting his knee. So will they be looking for running backs? I think if they're able to bring back Hyde, you have Duke already under contract. And Drew and I have talked about this on In the Lab and a few other Cooler Talks. Keep an eye on Karan Higdon. I think Karan Higdon made a pretty good impression on the coaching staff.
Undrafted free agent from Michigan last year.
Right, and ended up on the practice squad for the full year.
Yep.
So Karan Higdon is a guy to keep an eye on as well. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, last Senior Bowl, so 2019 Senior Bowl. And I was like, boy, he is a tiny guy. Short, but strong.
Yeah.
I mean, he did not fear running between the tackles at all. So we'll see what this year does for him when we get to the offseason, OTAs, mini camps, et cetera, on the training camp. But keep an eye on Karan Higdon as well.
But they're going to bring him back. They're going to bring him back through undrafted free agency. Maybe they draft a guy they really like. You said that this draft was going to be really good for running backs.
It's really good for running backs. It's very, very good for running backs.
It doesn't appear to be like need number one, but you do have to do something because you have a 1,000-yard rusher you're looking at right here that you just you employed in Carlos Hyde, and you have Duke Johnson coming back. That's going to be good. All right. Devin on Facebook, do you think the Texans will sign DJ Reader to a new contract? Look, who knows? We all love DJ. They have options with him. You could franchise him. Yeah. You could come to a deal, an arrangement with him, or you could hit the open market. Usually when guys hit the market, and the league year begins in early March, when they hit the market, you tend to not get them back once they hit. But we'll see soon enough. And, you hope to see him back, but I'm sure they'll find a way to find somebody in the middle if he's not around. But he's been a heck of a player for the Houston Texans.
What's made it a little bit more difficult in bringing him back is the fact that DJ was staying on the field on third. Not all the time. Not all the time. But he was staying on the field a little bit more on third downs and showing that he could rush the quarterback from the inside. And he really improved on that. From 2016 time he got here through this year, he really improved his ability to get push.
So why does that make it harder for them?
Because now that means that there are other teams looking at it going, hey, that's an interior defensive lineman that can rush the quarterback.
He can rush the quarterback.
I'll
it's
pay
not
for
like
that.
it's not like he had 8 sacks or something.
I understand.
But he does have that ability.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if you want to stop the run, he's number 1 in the league.
Right.
I mean, he's phenomenal.
Can move around really well.
And now he's got a little bit of pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there might be some team that values that a little bit more than others. And all you need are just 1 or 2 other teams to just say, hey, we'll pay him.
Right.
And then you're priced out. Hopefully that doesn't happen because we'd like to have him back.
All right, so Trey on Facebook, who will the Texans be looking at during the Combine? Look, this is a big question, Trey. Everybody. How about that? Everybody. And they interview people. Mm-hmm. The workouts themselves tend to not be the be-all, end-all, all right? It's the interviews. It's meeting them. It's just getting everybody in the city together, the city of Indianapolis, for that several-day period where they can really look them over as a group. And, I always bring up this story. Gary Kubiak once told me he likes to watch the workouts, not so much for the workout itself, but just to see the guys interact with each other. You're kind of watching. It's not a practice. It's an audition, but how they behave with their teammates. They're really not teammates. They're position group mates that they're competing against, but how they interact, and it's interesting to watch.
Well, I'll give you a great example of that. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I holed up on that Friday, and I would just sit. I was sitting on the opposite side of where the 40 is run, opposite from all the scouts. Their time there for the 40, and I was sitting down there, and they had the broad jump over there. And it was the offensive lineman day, and I was watching. All the offensive linemen are up listening to the coach, and there's one offensive lineman just kind of hanging back, just not kind of involved in the group, and he was a guy projected to be a first-rounder. And I'm just watching, him now because he's caught my attention. Like, well, okay, why is he not in that drill? Kind of the same thing.
Right.
Like, what's going on with this guy? Then he walks across somewhere where he wasn't supposed to. So now the scouts and the coaches are like, hey, what are
you doing over there?
He just kind of looked at him like, whatever. He ends up going in the first round and has been a nothing player, basically. And it goes to kind of Gary's point. It's, those kind of guys that you watch some of those things.
Right.
And in some cases it may not matter, but in some cases they do. And if you're just paying attention to all of it and there's something that just turns you off, okay, we don't have to draft that guy. Let's move on to another one. And more teams learn about that stuff at the Combine, Pro Days, interviews. Those are all the things that they learn in Indianapolis, at least start to learn in Indianapolis.
All right, Steven wants to know, are there any changes to the offensive line next season? In our opinion, I would imagine, Steven, because we don't really know, do we? In fact, there is no way you could have projected the Texans' offensive line at this time last year, what they ended up with in New Orleans on opening day, even 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
But you brought this up on the air as we evaluated the O-line on Texans All Access on Thursday night. That podcast is up on the app, so go check it out there. But you're likely to have at least 4 of the 5 guys back, Titus Howard being one of them, who injured himself during the Colts game Thursday night or here, was unable to play the rest of the season. So you're probably going to have at least 4 of the 5, maybe all 5 back, and continuity is king on the O-line. So thank goodness you can get back to the days when you had that awesome line in 11 and 12, and I know it changed in 12, but you had 4 of the 5 guys coming back. You had a really solid line for a while.
Yeah, and here's one of the ways to look at this. In 2018, from 2018 to 2019, you had a 60% change. You had a 3 out of 5 guys change.
Wow.
You could be going from 4 out of 5 staying the same going into 2020 and potentially 5 of the 5.
Yeah.
I mean, you just think about that continuity and how that helps you and just reducing sacks and continuing to open holes and just working together.
You got a left tackle.
Yeah. You've got Laramie Tunsil, who I think is, if he's not the best in the game, he's right up there in the top 3, top 4. He's in the team picture. There's no question. And he's definitely the youngest. He's the youngest of the group. I mean, if you want to throw Bakhtiari in there, Trent Williams, Dwayne, Tyron Smith, those are the guys that we talk a lot about. Those guys are all 31 plus.
Yeah.
You talk about Larry being 25.
See?
So you've got the best young left tackle. You got Titus Howard. And it was funny because I was watching All or Nothing on the Philadelphia Eagles, and they were saying, Lane Johnson, the best right tackle in the NFL. Before long, Titus Howard's going to be in that mix.
Wow.
For that consideration. Big. So those are your 2 tackles to start with, and Max Sharping didn't miss a snap from the time he stepped in the lineup in Game 3.
It's a heck of a starting point, really.
Yeah.
When you look at it. I mean, every team has to be built around the O-line. Finally, you have one coming into shape here. You feel like you felt about Watson. You have a quarterback. Well, you have a left tackle, and that's a huge thing right there. Val, any thoughts on the XFL? Look, this is the developmental league for the NFL at best, right? unto itself. It's spring entertainment. It's, the football's okay.
Yeah.
Good for them. Look at the players, okay? You're not dealing with, we're talking about the NFL usually on this program, on these programs that we do here. These are the top athletes in the world playing this sport. The XFL, not so much. But, yeah, football, I love football. And so we've been checking it out. I think for our purposes, talking about the rules and what might be adopted by the NFL, because they can experiment around. They have to more than the league will. NFL, once upon a time for the USFL, got the red challenge flag, got the 2-point conversion. Well, I know it came from college, but the USFL was using it. So maybe they end up adopting some of this stuff or a version of it from a league like this, and that might be interesting.
Well, it's a good crowdsourcing option for the NFL in some sense, without having to put it out there and say, hey, fans, what do you think about this?
Right.
They got to look at the XFL and go,
it's market research.
This is kind of interesting how they've done this.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they've done that. What makes our game better? What we don't like. But it is. It's I don't want to call it a minor league, but it's not the NFL. The USFL tried to be the NFL in the spring. They
had
were
a lot
going
of good
out
players.
and getting NFL talent. They got Reggie White, Mike Rozier, Gary Zimmerman, Steve Young. 3 or 4 of those guys went to the Hall of Fame. Sam Mills came out of there.
Right.
Linebacker who played for a long time with the Panthers and Saints. That's where they got not a majority of players, but they got a good handful of players that came from the USFL. But the USFL was looking for players that had NFL talent because they had money to throw at those players, in particular one person who then ended up killing the league because he wanted to put it in the fall. But we won't get into that.
And the owner from L.A. The other thing is this. In the USFL, the best team in the USFL could hang with a lower echelon NFL team probably, okay? Yes. The best team in the XFL will get demolished by the worst team in the National Football League. I mean, it would be a whitewashing. So that's kind of the difference, if you will, in these leagues.
The Houston Gamblers with Jim Kelly at quarterback.
Yeah, they
could have gone against any NFL defense and put points up on the board for sure. And they probably could have beaten at the time. I think the worst team was maybe the Cardinals. They could have beaten the Cardinals.
Tampa Bay was pretty bad at the time.
Yeah, Tampa Bay was bad.
Early 80s.
They could have beaten the Cardinals
right after they got to that John McKay era.
These XFL teams, no. Now, they're going to be names you recognize. But you know what? It's football in the spring. You watch it. If there's a Houston team, you watch it. I mean, you learn something, and maybe the NFL learns something about what it is that they might be able to bring to the game that might make it safer, might make it more interesting, might make it more exciting. And we've talked about that on radio, and we'll continue to talk about it as this league evolves.
Okay, so you've got one of these. Everybody's got one of these, pretty much.
Yep.
Download the Houston Texans app if you don't have it.
Yeah.
All the content is there. Just get it. And follow us on social media. And Texans All Access, 6 o'clock Friday night, Sports Radio 610, hosted by this guy. I'll be on the show. And Saturday night, ABC 13, don't miss Texans 360. It's a cliffhanger. Well, really not, but it's at 11 o'clock, ABC 13, Saturday night. Have a great day, and go Texans.